Hey, welcome everyone to another community call with Celestia. This is community call number 4, and we have a lot of exciting updates for you regarding Mocha, testnet, and Arabica DevNet. Before we get started, we want to give a quick update about things that people might have seen on Discord or they're asking questions. So we wanted to get it out of the way now and focus the rest of the conversation on Mocha and Arabica, right? So we want to address questions regarding the email about the incentivized testnet. If you haven't received an email, you either haven't signed up for the node operator list or you were caught by one of our filters because you tried to game the waiting list. Or you're innocent, but you got caught up by our filter, which can happen. So for context for a lot of people, we had over like 20,000 people interested, and we only can give it for like we can only admit up to a few percents of that, so there's a huge queue, and even if like some people completed it, it might not even be approved. There's a high probability of that. There's even if you receive the email, there's simply no guarantees that you'll be invited to the incentivized test just because of how big that queue is. So we wanted to put that out of the way and give you that kind of context. So this is all we can currently share about the incentivized testnet. We'll have more updates in 2023. For the remainder of the call, we will be covering other topics like Mocha testnet. So if your question for this call is related to the incentivized testnet, other than the context that I gave you right now, and we'll repeat that context on like in the chat. Outside of those, we can't really provide any more information until January or like February. So, but by the next year, we'll have more updates. But for now, for the remainder of the call, we're not going to cover any questions related to the incentivized testnet other than the update I gave you. Now, I hope that's okay and that we can have a really good call. Trying to see if there's any other point. So another point is regarding this call, if you did not sign up for the node operator waiting list from a while back, but we detect that you have been historically and meaningfully contributing to Celestia on Discord, on GitHub, and you're an active community member, we might invite you to sign up to the incentivized testnet, but there's no guarantees because the waiting list is big, and it's big to the point that it's overwhelming, right? And with that said, let's get started covering Mocha. So Mocha testnet, let me try to find the actual blog post about, yeah. So if you folks haven't really seen, I guess, we did say it in the announcement, but worth talking about it here. Wow, the chat is pretty active, huh? Here's the blog post. Oh, no, I did it wrong. I sent it a direct message to somebody when I should have sent it to the group. I'm trying to figure it out. Rock Mattia, can you like grab that blog post link and just paste it in the channel, in the chat? Anyway, so growing up in new testnet, introducing Arabica and Mocha. So if you haven't noticed, we're all big coffee fans. So we're naming our testnet after coffee beans, with Arabica and Mocha being the most popular coffee beans. Now, what is this update and why you should care about it is, so Arabica DevNet is only like focused targeting developers. You've probably seen it already in our Discord, like, there's an Arabica faucet for a developer to get onboarded. So with Arabica DevNet, validators can't really validate on Arabica because it's like something that we are like running, but Arabica DevNet will always have like some of the latest updates from Celestia, and it will allow you, if you want to build a sovereign rollup, Arabica DevNet will make it so easy for you to do that. So check it out. There's a lot of docs there. And yeah, like you can do an EVM rollup, a Solana VM rollup, Cosmos VM rollup, and deploy them on top of Arabica. And then there's the Mocha upgrade. So you probably all know about Mamaki. Mamaki is a testnet that we deployed sometimes in, was it May? I don't know. So it was like maybe in April or May, we deployed the Mamaki testnet. So that was like a validator focused testnet because we want to test a lot of things out with validators when it comes to consensus breaking changes or coordination related practices. So that was Mamaki. Now Mamaki was kind of outdated by the time like with all the new breaking changes that we're adding. So we decided, instead of a hard fork and upgrading Mamaki, we decided to do a hard spoon. A hard spoon basically where we start a new network, but we maintain the same state of the Mamaki on Mocha. So if you're a validator or if you have a Celestia address on Mamaki, you're definitely going to have that same balance on Mocha. So it's a very easy way to migrate over. And we recommend, if you're running a Mamaki validator at the moment, please shut it down and run a Mocha validator instead. And with that, let's go over Mocha and all the exciting upgrades. So in Mocha, there's a bunch of new exciting changes. And I don't know if Evan's on the call, but I would love if Evan wants to go over it, maybe.
Yeah, sure. So like what Yaz was saying, with Mocha, we had quite a few breaking changes. So starting off with upgrading the Cosmos SDK and downgrading Tendermint. And the reason that we downgraded Tendermint was there were some peer-to-peer changes that I think were causing a few issues with Mamaki. And now with Tendermint 3.4, we're using like a more tried and true peer-to-peer stack. So we hope to have a lot of improvements there. We also increased the overall amount of data that could be included in a single block. So instead of having 4 megabytes, now we have 8 megabytes of potential block space. We also upgraded our encoding library. So now the error-sure encoding is significantly faster, and that's something else that we wanted to test. And then we also had a sort of a new format for encoding our data that we think is significantly easier to reason about for roll-up developers who are working at a very low level. And then we also changed it so that now, every time you post your block data to Celestia, you can check for the inclusion of that block data without actually having to download all of it. So you can do it very, very quickly, which was always like a critical feature for Celestia. We just finally, we shipped this, I think, back in September. Now it's being included in Mocha. And I think that's about it. It's a very exciting update. We will still, if you're a validator on Mocha, please stay tuned into the Discord channel because we will likely have updates on anything that might need to change to make block times more consistent. But so far, things are going decently well. I think that's the only updates from me.
Awesome. Yeah, from the Celestia node side, Renee, since Mamaki and to the point of Arabica and Mocha, I know there's a lot of changes that went into Celestia node on the DA side. Do you want to talk about some of the changes that went into Mocha?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, there aren't many user-facing changes besides like our development of the RPC component. So before we had something along the lines of like a REST gateway that we opened on port 26658 like as a default, but now we've migrated that to port 26659 as a default. It's still available with all the methods that you guys are used to, but now we're developing out JSON RPC on port 26658. It's not fully complete yet, but it is almost there. And most of the changes have actually been in regards to how we do data availability sampling and how we propagate shares, which are just like chunks of blocks across the network, and how we store them. So a lot of it has just been hardening. So not many user-facing things on the Celestia node side. But yeah, mainly the main changes you guys will see are with the RPC. I don't know if there's anything, Gleb, maybe you want to add something?
I think you mentioned everything perfectly. So
yeah, nice, sweet. Okay, I'm done.
Alrighty. Not sure if there's anybody from the Roman side. Like I don't know, it's not related to Mocha and Arabica, but historically, people when they're using Roman, using it with Mamaki was kind of problematic because Mamaki had a bunch of issues that were inherited from upstream. Cosmos and Tendermint that we resolved in Mocha, but now like that things are more stable with new shiny new testnet named after coffee bean. If you folks notice, we pivoted from tea to coffee, which is a great pivot in my opinion, because I'm a coffee maxi. But for the rollment people, I don't know if Joseph or anyone else from the team is here, but do you guys want to give any updates there? If not, maybe we can also talk about what people can expect in January aside from the incentivized testnet. I know we're planning something related to the QGB, but it's not announced yet, but like maybe we can give them a little snippet. Evan, what do you think?
Say again, sorry.
I'm talking about like we're planning a QGB testnet at some point.
Yes.
Maybe we can tease that out to people and stuff, like what to expect by next year.
We should in Q1, we should launch a testnet for the QGB, and this testnet will be sort of its own thing. We're working on what we're calling the QGB v2, and it's just like more or less just a different design, but we'll have extremely similar, if not identical, from a user perspective functionality. So in Q1, we'll have a testnet that you'll actually be able to use. So you'll be able to post your data to that testnet, and then you'll be able to prove that that data exists on any EVM chain. Or that prove that that data was posted to this testnet from any EVM chain.
Sweet. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing to look forward to with the QGB being close in Q1. That would allow you, like, if you're a sovereign, if you're a rollup developer, and let's say for some, like, you know, for philosophical or other reasons, you want to still settle on Ethereum, but you want to benefit from Celestia for the data availability component and scalability that it offers, you can still do that using the QGB. So that is like a super exciting like update that we'll have later. For now, Daryl, what I would recommend for everyone is play around with Mocha, run a validator if you like, deploy a sovereign rollup on top of Mocha or Arabica, and let us know. Like, you know, give us some feedback. We're here in the Discord. We're happy to chat about any kind of like improvements that we can make. We're always updating the docs with the latest information, and yeah, we're very excited, and we'll have more about updates in Q1 2023. But for now, unless somebody else wants to mention anything from our team that I might have missed, maybe we can go to Q&A. And as a reminder, Q&A has, like, we're not going to answer any questions related to the incentivized testnet. We already gave like we gave an overview at the beginning of the call. We'll have more information about the incentivized testnet in Q1 next year. But for now, we just want to focus everything on like the Mocha and Arabica announcement. So with that said, if anyone had any question, because you're not able to unmute yourself, we recommend that if you have a question, you either type it in chat, and hopefully you're not spamming the chat, and or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you so you can ask your question. Anyone wants to raise their hand? I mean, to be honest, I don't even know how I can raise my hand. I've never tried that before. Oh, Josh. Yeah,
I don't have a question, but it's under reactions.
Is Mocha going to be the long-term testnet? Great question. Evan, what do you think?
Yeah, that's the idea. Mocha will be around for a long time and will be, the release strategy goes for, once we push a new release, it goes on an internal testnet, and then it goes to Arabica, and then it goes to Mocha. So Mocha should be the more long-lasting, more stable testnet, the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if anyone from the DevOps side is here. Yeah, so like Evan said, like that kind of step-by-step deployment process makes it much more streamlined, because with Arabica, since we kind of control the validator, we can just upgrade it whenever with the latest features. But then things will be tested internally for new feature, then you deploy it on Arabica so that you have real life users, and then finally deploy it on Mocha. But Mocha, because it required validator coordination, that upgrade process takes a little bit longer. Oh, June is in the waiting room. Let's invite June. Okay, so we have a, okay, I'm gonna go through the questions one by one. First, Igor, or let me unmute you, Igor. Ask to unmute.
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can.
Hello, Yas. Hello,
on?
team. Hello, community. Thank you very much, Yas. Everything is good. I have a question regarding the testnet. It's going to be an Arabica and it's going to be a Mocha. We do deeply support the Celestia project. And should we take part in both DevNet and the testnet? Or there will be like, maybe it will make more sense to take part in Mocha and do not run the Arabica.
Yeah, so Mocha is validator focused. So we're more than happy for you to run a validator on Mocha. I think like that's something that we recommend for all validators. And if you already were running one on Mamaki, deploying like, you know, on Mocha, will be, you'll still maintain the same state, so you'll still have the same balances. Evan, correct me if I missed anything there. On Arabica, we don't have a way for people to deploy a validator because we use it as a public testnet that we kind of like a centralized testnet, but we use it for testing. For like, if you want to test the latest features as a developer, you can use Arabica, kind of like how people can use Goerli on Ethereum, but to become part of the proof of the POA set, it takes a long time, and you got like it's not a straightforward process. And the reason for that is because we want to provide developers an easy way to onboard with doesn't necessarily require them to run a node. Now, on that side, if you want to deploy sovereign rollups and stuff on Arabica or even on Mocha, you can do both. But if you want to run a validator, it will be on Mocha. Okay, there's a few other questions. I think though, like I saw Viet raise his hand. Viet, did you want to say anything before we go to the questions in the chat? Viet, if you raise your hand, I can find you and I can unmute you. Otherwise, I'll make you co-host if I can find you. Oh, there you are. Let me find, hold on, let me unmute you. And I'll make you co-host.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick note is that, if you want to run a validator, please go to Mocha, as it is we consider this a long-lasting testnet for everybody to participate. And if you are a dev and you want the latest and the greatest, then Arabica is your one-stop shop. This is where we want to make sure that all latest releases from all our repositories are living there, mainly Celestia node and Celestia app. This is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Awesome. Igor, don't worry. If you unmute yourself, you want to say anything else, you can just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. But for now, I'm glad that you're running on Mocha. We love having our validators on Mocha. It's exciting to see. Okay, now let's go through the other questions that were on the chat. Oh, a bunch of questions were just like sent to me directly. Okay, so one question by Damien. As a validator, do we need to start from zero with tokens to be active? No, Damien, if you're already running a validator on Mamaki, you should have the same balance provided you own the same key on Mamaki on Mocha. So if you run it on Mocha, you should see the same balance. Unless you ran it, like you started a validator yesterday, because we took the snapshot like a few days back, then you might not see the balance. But if you've been running a Mamaki validator for a few, like couple of weeks, you should be seeing the same balance on Mocha. I hope that answered the question. If not, feel free to raise your hand or talk in the chat, but yeah. Big Jim, I haven't had a chance to read the docs yet. Are there any big changes to the node specs required? If you're talking about a hardware requirement, that hasn't changed to my knowledge, because we haven't updated anything on the docs yet related to hardware requirements, because we tested it like the recommended versions are the same. However, to keep in mind, there's two new flags when you run a validator. There's like the -- EVM flag and there's the -- orchestrated flag. And maybe it's a good segue for Evan to give more input on what those flags do or why they're there, and what to expect in the future with those flags.
Yeah, so currently those flags don't do anything. They are stored in the state, and we will eventually use them for the QGB, but the QGB has like a certain state portion in the state machine. So we wanted to add that to the state machine so we have it, but we don't have to hard fork in the future. But currently it doesn't do anything. And you can always change them later. So you can't use anyone else's address, so they do have to be your addresses, but that's about it. In the future, before we turn the QGB on, we will notify people, and if you want to edit or change those addresses, you can, and then essentially we'll just turn the QGB on and it will start working magically.
Sweet. So there you have it, folks. There are two new flags. They don't do anything but make sure you can change their addresses, but make sure their Celestia addresses are your own and the EVM address is your own, and then you can swap them out after. Just having them there just so that you can run the network, but you can swap them out later. And in the future, like what Evan's saying, when the QGB is turned on, they'll start doing something, All right, so Catch Fire. Hi team, how's it going with the Modular Fellows? How many developers do you have on top of the Celestia? Maybe Joshi, Jordan, Jordan, keep your hand raised. We'll go to you next. But Josh, you want to give an overview of the Modular Fellows? How's it going?
Definitely. Yeah, it's going well. So there are 13 different teams. I guess there are 9 teams that are working on Modular Fellows as individuals. So they're basically building a project on their own. And then there are around 15 teams that are in the program as teams. So they are further along in their projects, maybe already have funding. And the program's going really well. We're actually going to be having a demo day in the middle of January. I don't think that's going to be completely open to the public, but we do plan to share some of the more polished projects after the demo day itself. And then in terms of the number of developers that are building on Celestia, we don't really have those sort of numbers. So I don't really have an answer for that. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing some of these fellows projects kind of build out into more finished products as the program ends and then after the program itself.
Yeah, I mean, having an accurate count of how many developers build on-chain is very, very hard problem to derive an answer for, because there's a lot of signal that you can see on chain about how the chain activity is being used, but it's not like hard science, because I can just generate 1 million addresses, deploy 1 million random contracts on testnet, and that will be like, oh, there's 100 different developers on that. But we're working on a way to at least come up with a more precise answer that indicates what would be how many developers are building. But the Modular Fellow is very exciting there. Oh, Josh, we did have on the docs the calendar with different YouTube videos so far that yeah, maybe you want to share that. Yeah. So for Cashfire, we have a doc with all the videos so far, the content. So a lot of it is very knowledge sharing around different modular protocols that are building on top of Celestia, or lessons there. So check it out. Josh will paste the link there, and yeah, I think you'll find it very useful. Okay. Somebody raised their hand first, but they stopped raising their hand. Who's that person? Otherwise, I'll continue with the chat. Oh, there you are, Jordan. Let me unmute you, Jordan. Okay. Did you have a question, Jordan? We can't hear you otherwise. Oh, okay. So I have to run validator nodes. Do I need to do any changes? No, the only changes Huo code and Raider is related to the two flags that we covered. They're documented in our docs under the validator nodes section. So just keep in mind adding those. But otherwise, if you have the same address, you'll have the same amount on your validator on Mocha. QGB on Arabica and Mocha connect to which Ethereum testnet? So currently the QGB is not turned on, Joel. And there's no QGB, like it's not turned on either Arabica and Mocha, but Evan would, like, presuming that we do turn it on, where would it be? On like, which, was it Ropsten or Goerli or whichever?
The cool thing about the QGB is that it can go to all of them at the same time. That's
cool, right? So there you have it. It can go to all the EVM network. We don't discriminate between EVM networks, you know? We're modularism, not Marxism. Okay, Igor already had a question. Shubham Gurjar, is there an advantage to being active validator in testnet? I was in the top 150 for the longest time. So there's no advantage. It's more that, hey, I can validate blocks if you want to test them, but keep in mind, there's like, I mean, last I checked on Mamaki, that was like a couple of weeks ago, we had 150 active and 3,000 waiting on standby, you know, so there's a huge demand for it, but I guarantee you, whether you're on standby or active, there's no advantages whatsoever for you as a validator, other than if you want to do some testing and stuff, or like, you know, practice becoming a validator and stuff. The other thing is, for people that we want, like, you know, who are going to be in the active validator set, there's an expectation, like at least on testnet, because Mocha is going to be part of our deployment process, there's an expectation that when we have any new updates or like that might require a hard fork, that all the validators in the active set are actually responsive and we can coordinate with them. That was like one of the only expectation. But I don't know if that is an advantage, because it still means that you would have to coordinate with us. But that's the only thing I can think of. But otherwise, there's zero advantages for you being an active validator in testnet, other than to test out that your validator can sign blocks, and that you can jail and unjail. Okay, Nico, will there be a second round of the Modular Fellow program? That's a great question. I can give like a little line or two, and then I'll open the floor for the rest of the team to share their thoughts. So currently, we're still waiting until we wrap up the program and the demo day. After that, we need to assess, like, you know, how valuable the program was. Like, did people find it valuable? Were there a lot of great projects and that? And based on that, we can determine if we want to do a second cohort. Otherwise, we are open to maybe modifying the program, because potentially some of the project could be more application focused, which is fine and great. But maybe we can do another flavor of the program around core development. Like, you know, if you want to be a core developer at every layer of the stack, like from DA to consensus, you know, having a fellowship around that. So that's one of the few things we're thinking about, but I'll open the floor for the rest of the team if they have any more thoughts, or if what I said was not right.
Yeah, I'll chime in here. I think whether there'll be another phase of the Modular program, Fellows program, is kind of relevant in the sense that there's going to be a lot more support for developers in our ecosystem and people building stuff on Celestia going forward. And it's sort of like a question of what different forms that will take. So whether there'll be more grants oriented. I think some of the limitations of the Modular Fellow program was that it's very high touch, and also it is limited in the number of people that can participate. And so if we want to have a type of program that actually is a little bit can have more participation from more people, I think that could be a better structure. I do think that we want to continue a lot of the things that have come out of the Modular Fellows program, such as we're doing these insight calls, and there's been a lot of like knowledge sharing, and a lot of those videos I think are public or going to be public. And so we'll continue a lot of, like, I think the Modular Fellows program has started a lot of initiatives and bootstrapped sort of the core parts of our developer community, and that's absolutely going to continue. But we'll probably have to, as Yaz said, recalibrate after this and see what direction we want to go forward in. Whether that's exactly the same or slightly modified is still to be seen.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, so I hope that answered the question. Feel free to, if it's not, if you have any follow-up questions, let us know about the Modular Fellows. Thanks for the answers, calendar and content. Could you, Sub-Zero, could you please give some project example you're interested in seeing during the demo phase? Josh, I don't know if we discussed what you want to see. Yeah, go for it.
I dropped the link in there, but I can go over a few that are pretty cool right now. So I guess something that I think a lot of blockchain projects as they start want to have is a naming service. So Celestia name service will be something that we're looking forward to seeing come out of the program. So this will be similar to ENS, where you can tie a human readable name to an address. There is one called ScanWorks that's doing basically alerts and event monitoring for Celestia, but also for namespaces and rollups on Celestia. There's another one that is working on building an execution layer specifically for gaming. That one's, I can't give too much else out about that. There's also another gaming project that's basically building a rollup as a game, which is pretty cool. I think that's going to be one that we're definitely going to share publicly. And then, yeah, I'm not going to go too far on this, but there's a lot of really cool ones that are in the Team Fellows category. Some notable ones are Constellation, Duality, Dimension, Eclipse, Juno, and Skip Protocol. Yeah, but if you do have any questions, I guess feel free to reach out.
Well, it seems that somebody's asking Pratham a question. Pratham, if you can raise your hand, I can unmute you. And then maybe if somebody has a question about CNS, you can answer it if you like. I need to see your hand raised so I can, because there's a lot of people in the list. Maybe I can manually. 1 second. All right, take your time. Okay. While we wait on Pratham, is there any more questions about Celestia activities and projects and anything like that? Okay, so there's a question from Nico. On a high level, which are the missing milestones to mainnet? Is there a simple way to track insights? Send you an invite. Let me just make you a co-host. Let me try to find you. But yeah, let me just answer Nico's question. Is there a simple way to track insights on their progress? Outside of a simple roadmap, I don't know if there's any way to track insights unless you're deep in our GitHub but otherwise, which missing milestones are missing, which milestones are missing to mainnet? I'll let maybe Ismail or Mustafa want to answer this.
Question again?
The question is, which are the missing milestones to mainnet launch? And is there a simple way to track insights on the progress? Let me copy paste it again.
I mean, we have several project boards. I would say there's no simple, super simple way to track progress, but there are, everything is open source. There's several project boards that you can track, where you can keep track of progress. What are the missing milestones? I think we're nearly feature complete. Everything is 90% done. I think there are changes that need to be done and tested, and that takes time. So it's not like there aren't major missing features, major milestones that are missing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Isma.
Maybe on Node, someone can chime in and say what they think on their side. But I don't think from Core App, from the consensus, there's anything super critical missing.
From the node side, we have only improvements on the P2P layer for the block syncing. So that's the part that is in progress, heavily in progress, and that's it.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Oh, Ismail, were you saying something? Oh.
I just said thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry, I was just missing it. Okay, Pratham, how you doing? Can you unmute yourself? Otherwise, we have a few other
Yeah,
questions and oh, perfect, yeah. Pratham,
yeah,
yeah, you want to cover CNS, what you're working on so far as part of the Modular Fellow program?
yeah, sure. So, thanks for giving me the mic, Yaz. And I've been a part of the Modular Fellows program for the last 2 or 3 months, and I'm building CNS, which will be Celestia's naming service. So it's similar to like an ENS naming service, like you have on Ethereum. So you will have like a human readable name that's attached to your wallet, so you don't have to put in that long string whenever you want to send or receive assets. So you can just have pratham.tia and like or pratham.celestia, and you can send like whatever assets that you have or whatever tokens that you want to send to me. So that's like the basic idea. It's very similar to ENS, but technologically it's built um on a different, it's built using Celestia's data availability layer. And that's obviously different from how ENS works, where ENS is written using a smart contract, and there is an NFT attached to your domain name that you can transfer around. CNS will work slightly differently but the experience will be mostly the same. And I guess the question in the chat was, how does the domain name look like? So pratham dot Celestia or whatever that you would want to have. And you'll not only be able to, like, you'll be able to have all sorts of tokens that you can attach to your domain name. You can have Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Celestia, of course, and whatever token it is that you want. And along with the domain name service, we're also working on a link tree idea built on Arweave using the perma-web technology, so that you have this sort of link tree like page where you have all your social media links in one place that's attached to your domain name that you have. So we're focusing on building a lot of utility for this project, and yeah, you'll be able to buy it just like how you buy an ENS domain name, except you'll be, of course, using Celestia tokens. So yeah, and we're almost in the final stages of building the prototype right now.
Awesome. Well, can't wait to see how it turned out, and I'll definitely be one of the first users. Okay, so I had a question, but it was sent to me in DM by ProNodes people. Will you test IBC during Mocha testnet? So, I only tested me personally, I only tested IBC on sovereign rollups, but I don't know, Evan, have you tested IBC on the consensus layer on CoreNav?
It's not included in the current state machine, but it will be in the next update. So eventually for Mocha, yes, just not currently.
Awesome.
I do think someone tested IBC on the DevNet, on the very first test. So yeah, there's no concern around it. It's just that the versions that we used for Mamaki didn't include it, and the Cosmos SDK version that we used didn't have like a compatible version of IBC. But it will be re-enabled soon, as Evan said.
Great. It's all good if you send me a DM, ProNodes. I do that all the time accidentally. I'm not really good at using Zoom. But anyways, any other questions? Like, I felt like we had a really good stream of questions, and that's always a good feeling. But any more, feel free to ask while we're all here. From Eugene, can I submit the form after the deadline? Unfortunately, no. Like, we already have a big enough queue, and we had to cut it off at some point. I think at the beginning of the call, we covered anything related to incentivized testnet. We gave the update. So we're not going to continue answering any questions related to the incentivized testnet. Any other questions? Presumably not related to the incentivized testnet, but related to Mocha and all the fun thing that we do. All right. So far we're at 44 minutes in. We got 16 minutes left to the call. Okay, is there anything anyone from the team would like to tell the community before we sign off? Because I don't know, I don't think there's any more questions coming in. So potentially we can wrap it up, but anything we can tell them what to expect for 2023? All right, maybe I can give them a little tidbit. Like, so for 2023, they'll expect a lot more modular components that you can play around with or like run a node for. So yeah, I've been saying recently that, 2023 is going to become the year of the modularity. So there's going to be a lot of exciting new software tooling, developer toolings, libraries that you can play around with for any project you want to build on top of Celestia or running a node with Celestia, testing out different things, and anything related to projects building on top of Celestia that can grow the ecosystem. Gunter, yes, hey, you have a question. When do you think that telemetry will be enabled? Are you talking about, wait, Gunter, let me just unmute you if you want to just chat. If you wanted to, okay, let me ask you unmute. But basically, are you talking about telemetry for Celestia app or Celestia node? Hey, Gunter.
Celestia node. Do you know if you will enable this?
Okay, so Glib, correct me if I'm wrong, but now we have a -- metrics endpoint, and what it does, it would allow you, if you deploy then like open telemetry collector, you can connect it to that endpoint. It will collect all the telemetry data from the DA layer, but Wondertan Glib would be able to provide more context there.
Okay.
Yes, you've like explained this pretty well. But right now, Node already provides a set of flags that you can configure it to connect to any software that speaks the OpenTelemetry protocol to collect metrics and traces from it if you want to have a deeper observability on how your node performs. In future, we will have much more metrics than we have right now. But for now, we have everything that is required for our goals of incentivized testnet, which are already informative enough. But if you have any more requests of what you would like to see from your node being sent, please come to our GitHub and write an issue. We might implement it.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nico. I'm impressed with the whole team as well. I barely do anything. It's all their magic, and we're just trying to communicate it to the rest of the world. With that said, yeah, I think we can just wrap this up unless somebody had one last minute question, which we would still allow. But other than that, yeah, we wish all of you, yeah, happy holidays. Yeah, definitely take some time off. Crypto has been really crazy this year for a lot of reasons. Take some time off, and we'll come back in January with a lot more exciting updates and activities that we can do with the community and different network testnets that you can play around with. Like the QGB one would be something to look out for in the future. And on the sovereign rollup side, there'll be a lot of exciting things that you're able to do. So with that said, I want to thank all of you for making the time to attend our community call. We'll try to do this more often as we start having a lot more updates in 2023. But for now, thank you so much for believing in Celestia and being totally aligned with our mission. And 2023 will push that mission to a reality. But for now, you can play around with the testnet, give us feedback, and we'll talk to you all on Discord. So with that said, thank you all and take care.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Thank you.